So I started getting into really concentrating on taking care of myself when I hit 55. I'm 60 now. I turned 60 in March. And I've just been gradually scaling in, and doing a lot more testing now.
Hi, everyone. Today's guest is Keith Blondin, a 60-year-old longevity enthusiast who's currently ranked 13th in Bryan Johnson's Rejuvenation Olympics. Welcome, Keith. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Can you give us a little bit of a background about yourself and how you got into the longevity space?
Okay, so I lived a life of not taking really good care of myself. I grew up in the 80s. I was a child of the 80s. I did a lot of partying when I was young, ate a lot of bad food, continued on, and I gradually got better. When I got into my 30s, I started eating a little bit better, but still not good enough. I was eating a lot of bread and pasta and a lot of things with preservatives in it, a lot of processed products. So that wasn't doing me any good. I wasn't exercising, but I was definitely getting in some activity as far because I was very active. So I wasn't doing anything like working out or anything like a scheduled workout plan or anything like that. But I did a lot of construction. I was flipping houses and doing a lot of things, lifting a lot of things and getting a lot of movement in. So that was good for me. And it come about 2020 when COVID came, I found myself, because of lockdowns and all that, doing a lot less activity. And I said, well, now's the time to start working out. So I started doing body weight exercises. And I told my friends, I said, I'm going to start doing this. So I wanted to make this concrete and stone so somebody heard me. So I had to fall through. So I started getting into really concentrating on taking care of myself when I hit 55. I'm 60 now. I turned 60 in March. And I've just been gradually scaling in, and doing a lot more testing now. Now I can do 100 push-ups, no problem. And I'm sprinting now and doing all these things that I would have never even imagined myself to do. Running, I mean, that's not me. I'd make a beer run. That sounded like fun. I'm not running for the sake of running, but now I enjoy it. I run with my dog, and she loves it.
So, tons to unpack. I think it's very inspiring that you started later in life and you're making huge progress in terms of slowing your aging. So let's start maybe with your diet, unpacking that a little bit more. So you mentioned obviously you essentially have 2 meals a day. Do you do any fasting or do
Oh
you
yeah,
yeah.
I'm obsessive about fasting. So I try to do a 16/8 daily fast. So not eating for 16 hours. That I don't really consider that fasting. I just consider that just a regular day. But I do a 24-hour fast once a week, usually every Sunday. Pretty much it is every Sunday. Unless I meet with some friends on a Sunday and they want to go out to eat and we have something to do, and then I'll move it to a Monday. But I don't miss it one way or another during the week. And then once a month, one of those weeks, I do a 3-day fast, so 72 hours. Sometimes I go more. Sometimes it turns into 76 hours. Those are a little bit more challenging, and those I feel. And it sucks when you're doing it, but oh man, I feel great when I'm glad. I'm always glad after I finish, and it's I think it's made a big difference in me, just cleaning everything out. I eat really clean, no processed now, no added sugar, low carb.
Sorry, can I just pause you for a sec? I think one of the things that's really underrated is the mental fortitude that's needed to go through a 72-hour fast. I've done a few myself too, and like you were saying though, the euphoria, the hormone release you get after you're done the 72-hour fast is amazing. It makes you feel like $1 million.
Yeah, you got to finish it. You go through waves. So you'll get your first wave and then you'll get your second wave. So you'll get waves of hunger. And then it's torturous if you happen to drive by somebody's house and they're having a barbecue, or your neighbor's having a barbecue. It's like, and you happen to scroll through social media and you see these awesome food posts, or you have the TV on and they got some great looking meal on there. It's like torture. And then, sure, my wife's not into fasting. I mean, she always says she is, but she never does it. Yeah, so she'll be cooking something, and I was on my 24-hour fast on Sunday, and I have a business the next state over, so I come home at like 9 o'clock at night, and the house smells amazing, whatever she's cooking, and I was like, this is torture for me.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. You gotta get past the hunger cues that you get from your environment.
Yeah, but the endorphins that get released after are totally worth it. Anyway, sorry. So you were saying you're on a low carb diet. Can we get further into the food you eat, the type of foods, the macros?
Yeah, so I eat the same thing for breakfast every day, so it's pretty easy. So when I get up, I'll take a batch of supplements with a glass of water. Then I have a cup of coffee with vital proteins, collagen powder. I'll put half of a daily dose in that, which I think is 10 grams. 2 tablespoons. And then usually I'll work out after that. Then after I work out, I'll have another cup of coffee, and I'll have a handful of walnuts, handful of pecans, and then I'll have one boiled egg. Just split it in half, and I'll throw a little salt and pepper on it. And I used to eat more eggs, but then I was working on my cholesterol. We'll get into that later. And then I'll have a smoothie with avocado, some filtered water, whatever kind of fruit I happen to have. It could be blueberry, blackberry, raspberries. We have fruits coming in season. We have some fruit trees and strawberries and raspberries and different things like that. So depending on the season, I'll throw those things in. So anything good. And like today, it happened to be avocado and a big kiwi. I like kiwis. And I have a little bit of this rice powder mixture. It's mixed with sesame that we get from Korea, because my wife's Korean, and this is from her family farm. They make it. So I put a little bit of that in. And chia seeds, creatine, 5 grams of creatine, and a little bit of Greek yogurt. And then I grind that up in one of those little ninja things. And then that's it for my morning. So I'll eat that same thing every morning, and the only variation would be the fruits in there. The avocado is always there, but the fruits can vary. But for the most part, it's pretty much the same.
Okay. And then dinners, an example like of dinner would look like?
All right. So my dinner, a good portion of it is the same every day. So I have this really huge salad. It's humongous. It's like, if I would have, it would probably take up like 2 of my heads in a bowl. And that is basically mixed greens. It could be the greens that we get from our garden, which we're getting now. We're throwing that in. That's a good thing about having a garden at your house. But it's usually some mixed salad, tomatoes, mushrooms, cucumbers. I put a lot of olives. I have 3 kinds of different olives I get. And extra virgin olive oil and malt vinegar. And that thing alone will fill you up. I mean, I'm stuffing that in. I'm packing that in. But salad can kind of compress a lot once it gets in your system. And then I'll have some type of meat protein usually. Could be mostly I'm eating chicken and fish. So I prefer chicken breast. I'm not really into dark meat. So it's a very lean meat. And codfish, it could be mackerel. Um, yeah, that's the kind of fish that we eat. Sometimes she'll make some tuna cakes or leftover cod. So it's like these things that doesn't really have many carbs in it, but it's made with egg and fish and it'll have peppers and things like that, and maybe some chives from our garden. And sometimes we have beef. Like this week, I grabbed a big hunk of beef, a loin, and we marinated that. So for the last couple nights, we've been having that. So that'll be beef once in a while. And I do like to stick with a little bit of pasta. So what I do now for pasta is I have a chickpea pasta, which is not the wheat pasta. So, and that's pretty good. I like it. And some pasta sauce that's organic without the sugar in it. It's a good stuff. So I read the labels on that. The Newman's Own, they have a few that are pretty good that without all that junk in it. And that's my diet. And stick pretty much to it. If I go out to eat with friends, I'll try to stay to the clean list. A lot of times I'll have like baked haddock or something like that, some steamed broccoli, and I always ask for a big salad. I always ask for the olive oil, not the kind of house dressings that they have. And I like malt vinegar. It's got a nice flavor. It's a little bit unique. So I go through a lot of malt vinegar. So if the restaurant has malt vinegar, I'll ask for that, or wine vinegar, or whatever kind of vinegar they have. Balsamic sometimes, but that is kind of some sugar in it. So I prefer not to eat that. And that's it. So really, really simple diet.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
similar to mine. So would you think you're hitting around a gram per body weight pound of protein, or more or less?
I never measured it, and I'm just listening to my body. Really, I don't measure calories and I don't measure protein. Uh, but I'm getting, so I don't know if you're familiar with the Orgain protein powder, the
Hmm.
plant protein. So part of my, oh, I forgot that that's in my smoothie, the Orgain. So I take 2 scoops of that. So a full day dose of 46 grams and put it in I can't believe I forgot that. Yeah, that's in my smoothie. So that's, I think 21 grams of protein in that.
Plus your
So
egg.
that's
Yeah,
plus one egg.
yeah,
I
and the
was
salt.
eating yeah, I was eating 3 eggs before, but yeah, my cholesterol was a little high, so I knocked out. I was eating whole milk, and I was eating the what's that good butter? The Irish butter. What is it?
Mm.
Kerry's Gold. Kerry's Gold. Yeah. So I was eating Kerry's Gold. I would throw it on like broccoli. I love the taste of butter, but my doctor was working on me with my cholesterol. Even though cholesterol, I don't think is so much an issue in a healthy body, but I was just trying to figure out some things, some plaque buildup, and we can go more into that on my CAC test. So I have no idea on my protein amount per day or my calorie amount, but I think I'm in the money. My weight is staying the same. My muscle tone is staying the same. I'm not looking to get jacked or anything. I'm looking for performance muscles. I can do a lot of reps. I can get a lot of motion in. I do a ton of stretching. That's something I'm really big on. I do 50% of my workout is stretching every day. So, um, yeah, so I think I'm good on that. Maybe at one point I'll measure it, but what I'm doing is I'm grabbing all the low fruit right now on the tree, and yeah, gradually getting up. So now I'm getting more testing and things like that. Just trying to keep it really clean and simple. I don't want to be like measuring out things every day and trying to guess what the heck I'm eating for protein and calories and all that. But it feels right. I'm listening to my body.
You know what? That's a great way to do it. But let's continue on this. So let's talk about supplements, your exercise regime, and then we'll get into testing, and that's when we can talk about your cholesterol and other tests that you have done. So in terms of exercise, can you get more into what you do and how you exercise?
Okay, so I have an upper body day, like arm day, people may call it. Um, so on that, I'll do my I do a little bit of stretching before that. I do a thing where I spin with my arms like a helicopter back and forth, and then I raise my hands over my head and stretch that way. Then I press my arms on a door jamb and put my arm way up for pressure on my shoulder. And then I go, because I was doing too many pull-ups and chin-ups and not giving myself enough rest. Last year, I had some problem with my shoulder, and then I let it rest for a while, and then I got back into it too soon again. And my doctor said, well, sometimes it can take up to a year to fully heal. So I backed off on doing the pull-ups and chin-ups. But what I'm doing is I'm going down to my pull-up bar in the basement, and I grab on to the pull-up bar, and I hang myself like this for 1 minute. I just
Isometric
hang.
exercise?
Yeah, so I just hang like this, and I rest for a bit, and then I do it again for another minute. And that feels really good. You're gonna feel that. It's like you're locked in, and you can't wait till that minute's over. But I do that twice, and I do a inverted row. I have these ropes hanging from the ceiling, and I pull myself up that way. I do that. We're doing it 20 reps, then I rest, and 20 reps more of that. Then I come back upstairs and I do 60 push-ups, and then I jump right over against the wall and I do 40 Mike Tyson push-ups. I don't know if you know what those are.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. You feel those. Those.
Yeah. Especially in the
Yeah.
shoulders too, right?
Oh yeah. I try to keep my hands planted back far as I can, lunge myself forward, almost in a planche. I'd like to do a planche someday. That looks like fun. And then I'll go to dips off a chair. I like supported dips. And then I'll do some stretching. I do a lot of neck stretching, like all different angles of the neck and pushing and just all different things, the upper body. And then after that, I'll do this thing where I put my hand forward like this, and it's way forward, and then I push myself up like this. So it's like a push-up just off the front of your hand. And I'll do 40 of those. And that's kind of weird. You feel it. And that's it for that particular day. But
Right.
then
Yeah.
I'll for the particular arm. Then I'll go into some more stretching, some mat stretching. Then I'll go on my inversion table. Inversion table is something I do every day. But before I go on the inversion table, I'll do 22 Buddhist bows. And this is, I do a kind of a modified one where I don't use my hand to support myself on the mat getting down or getting up. So, you go down into a deep bow, stand up, go down to the deep bow, put your head into the mat and then get back up again. So that's good for the knees. And that's something that my wife does a lot. She does 100. She's supposed to do 108 every day for her Buddhism class. She's an instructor in that. And some days they're required to do 400 in one day, and they do it. And I said, well, I'm not gonna kill my knee for that type of bragging rights, so I'm just gonna do 22 every day. So So that's what I do. And so then I go on the virgin table and I just hang for 15 minutes. But while I hang, I do a deep scalp massage for hair regrowth. So I'm not only getting the blood flow into the scalp, I'm breaking up the compacted skin because I'm prone to hair loss, and I had quite a bit, and I'm growing back now. So that's another thing about inversion table. It's really good for hair regrowth if you want to get into that. And so hanging for 15 minutes can get kind of annoying and uncomfortable. So I found the best thing to do is distract yourself. So I said, I'm hanging here anyway. I'm going to do something. And the deep scalp massage keeps me focusing on my scalp. And I don't think about anything being uncomfortable about hanging upside down. Particularly, most people will have issues with the ankles bothering them. I have these foam pads I put on my inversion table at the ankles. That really helps. But still, sometimes it'll bother you. And so after that, I'll eat breakfast and do what I gotta do during the day. And then when I gotta go for a walk with a dog, what I'll do is we go for our walk on the trails, and then we have these certain areas, and I tell the dog, let's go. So we sprint, and she's a little fast little dog, and she loves it, and it's good for both of us. And I just sprint as fast as I can and through the forest, and sometimes the trails are really windy, and some areas we go with a lot of rocks, so I'm bouncing off of rocks and between things and things like that, just kind of keep my balance going, and feels really good. And that's the last thing I've added to my regimen as far as sprinting. So on a core and leg day, what I do is I start out with this thing where I lay on a mat with my feet underneath the sofa, and I have a 15-pound dumbbell I put behind. Oh, all right, back to arm day. I forgot. I have a 15-pound dumbbell. I do hammer curls with that. I do 40 hammer curls, and I do 40 skull crushes. Lay on the mat, raise it up. So that's I heard that from a really jacked bodybuilder weightlifter. He said take 15 pounds and just do 100 reps because those guys are really cranked. And I said, well, 15 pounds, that doesn't sound like much, but after 20, you feel it. I can go up to 40, and that's enough for me. Mm-hmm. So, all right, so back to that. So now I'm on this 15-pound dumbbell behind my head. So I'm laying on the mat, feet underneath the sofa, and I go up from a sit-up, and then I lay back as low as I can get, maybe about 6 inches from the ground or 8 inches or whatever. So I'm just hanging there. The weight of the dumbbell is making it more of a strain, and I do that for about 20 seconds. I count 20, but I'm counting fast because I want to get done. Mm-hmm. And I do that 10 times, and you feel that. If you can feel that in your belly. And then I'll go over, and on a mat, I'll do 40 leg lifts to kind of for the lower abs. And then I'll do 100 one-legged heel raised squats. So I go on one leg against the counter, support myself, and I'll dip down into a squat, not maybe a full squat, but as much as I can get. And I'll do that 100 times really fast. So I'm on my toes the whole time. So you feel that. Mm-hmm. Switch the leg, go the other leg. And then I'll do 100 lunges, one-legged lunge. I'll lunge forward on one leg 100 times and then on the other leg. And then I go into my stretches, all my neck stretches. And then I do into this thing. It's a thing where I really put a lot of pressure on my neck. I stopped doing it. I used to do it every day, but then I had trouble swallowing because I built up some muscles in my neck around my throat too much, so I backed off on that. So maybe I'll only do it a couple times a week now. So I take my hand like this, and I crank like this for 6 seconds, 10 times, and I'll go to the other side and I do a front, back, and all around, just to kind of keep my neck muscles supporting the vertebrae that I'm working to pull apart. So I do all these things to work my vertebrae, pull it apart, and keep the muscle around it for support.
Mhm.
And then I go after all that. I eat my breakfast for those days and do the inversion and Buddhist spouse and all that, and sprint with a dog as much as I can, and go for daily walks. I don't do any gym. I don't have any gym membership. I don't do treadmills. I prefer the forest for a treadmill. Oh, so here's the funny thing. So when I started working out, I started getting some pain, and I started getting some pain first in my knee because I was doing exercises wrong. I was doing really deep squats. I would just go against the counter and say, I'm doing 50 squats now, but I'm going really deep. I'm hitting my butt to my heel. I'm just slamming, bang, 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 and ended up tearing my meniscus pretty bad. My whole leg swelled up to seemed like 3 times the size it should be, and it turned all black and blue. My heel was black and blue. My whole thigh was black and blue. My whole leg. So I got that checked out, and I said, "Yeah, you tore it, but let's hope you can repair it naturally." So I just did the exercises they recommended, and they said, "Well, if it gets any worse or you have problems, we can get in there and clean it out. They scrape things away or whatever." My mom is saying, "Oh, you're going to have to get a knee replacement. Everyone I know that this happened to had to get a knee replacement." I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. I'm going to figure out how to do it naturally. So my knee, 5 years later, is in decent shape, and it just lets me know it's there once in a while. It's no pain or anything, but I can feel, it's telling me, don't screw up. So I'm not going skiing anymore. I'm not snowboarding or anything like that where I know I could really destroy it. I have a friend that wrecked his knee skiing and he had to get a knee replacement. I do not want to do that. So I'm watching for things like that. So I'm listening to my body a lot more. And so after my knee started healing, I started getting a pain in my neck. When I turned to look to merge into traffic and just move my head around, I would get this pain. And then I started getting pain in my left arm, and it would turn numb. And I would have trouble even sleeping. And that became a problem. I was getting so much pain. Finally, I went to the doctor, and they told me my neck was worn out. They took x-rays or MRIs of machine that spins around your neck and looks at everything. I said, "Oh yeah, it's like your neck doesn't look good." So they gave me some exercise to do. And my friend was telling me about a place in town next over to me that's called the Westboro Spine Center. And they have traction machines that pull the vertebrae apart. And it's about $3,000 for 10 sessions. And then you still got to go after that for a refresher. And I said, well, this sounds like something I can do myself to pull my vertebrae apart, to release the tension of pressure on the nerve that's going down in my arm. So I said, oh, I'll do this myself. I know how to fix stuff. I can swap engines. I can do all kinds of things. I build a house from foundation up to roof. So I have an inversion table that I was using once in a while for pain. So I decided I'm going to get on this thing and stretch my spine. And I would take a rolled up towel and I would put it on the back of my neck, and I would bring it to my forehead and like this and like tug on it really, really hard. So I would basically be pulling my head away from my shoulders. And that felt really good. I was getting instant relief from that, just taking the pressure off that nerve. I was pulling so hard, it felt like my damn head was going to be pulled off. And I didn't care because I was getting so much pain. I said, this feels good. So I was doing that 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes at night. And gradually, the pain went away. And after, like, I would consider maybe 8 months, it was completely gone.
Hmm.
So now, yeah, I still do inversion every day for 15 minutes, but I do it for so many other reasons. I do it for lymphatic drainage. I do it for digestion. I do it for mindset, blood flow to the head, hair regrowth. So this is where I want to get to, really. The thing that really got me into longevity was the hair. I was starting to, and I lost quite a bit of hair. I still got more to go that's coming back in, and I would always wear a hat all the time whenever I went out in public. So I started seeing these couple of little hairs, like maybe an inch or more away from my hairline. I used to go, this was like maybe about 2 months after I started using the inversion table.
So do you use any devices to measure, or do you also kind of are in tune with your body in terms of how you
I'm
feel?
total, I'm totally raw dogging it. No measuring devices at all. I don't like I tried to wear a watch years ago and it ended up being in the dryer or the washing machine. And I'm doing a lot of things. I'm renovating our house now, and I'm working on vehicles and things like that. I'll end up destroying it if I wear it all the time. I may get one at one time, maybe just to wear it when I'm working out or sleeping or so sleep tracking or something like that. But I
Mm.
try to listen to my body as much as possible. Like last night, I know I got a really good night of sleep. I don't know what a sleep tracker would say, but I know the night before I didn't get a good night's sleep. It's because I got home really late and I was on a 24-hour fast, and I don't really sleep as good on a fast because my stomach, it wants something, especially a 3-day fast. So that's a fight. That's one of the problems with
Mm.
fasting, is being able to sleep good. And it's another thing I do with my eating habits, because I'm usually doing things later and it's too much of a hassle for me to eat early. Uh, like tonight, I'm hoping I can get to the mowing the lawn because I'm going to be away for till next Monday, and I won't be able to mow the lawn. We're getting some rain. It's going to be too long to come back. So I'm hoping I get it done early enough to have dinner on time. But sometimes I'm mowing the lawn into the dark. It's dark when I'm finishing the lawn. The neighbors think I'm nuts. I mean, here's this guy out mowing the lawn at like 9:30 at night. And I try to start it like it's 7:30 or whatever, but I gotta, mow it all, empty the bag, weed whack everything. So yeah, that's the hassle. So in the winter time it's a little easier because if I want to do anything outside, and when the sun goes down earlier, it just shuts your body down earlier. But when the sun is out longer in the summertime, it just keeps me awake and
Yeah, you
wanting to
feel
do
that
stuff
schedule, right?
later.
You feel that schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. So I'm about to do some more testing. I'm testing the first week in June, and I'm going to see how I'm doing with this new summer schedule.
Mm. So before we get into testing, though, let's cover your supplements, and then I definitely want to hit testing. So you mentioned you take collagen, you take creatine. What else do you take for supplements?
So the collagen and creatine. So I take 5 grams of uh, of creatine. Collagen, I take the full dose of vital proteins, whatever that is. It's, I believe, 20 grams. And the Orgain plant protein, 46 grams, which is 21 grams of protein. And my eyes suck, so I'm going to have to read this. I wrote this up. So, yeah. So The vital proteins actually has a lot of the amino acids that I take more of, but I double up on them for joint health and all that. So I take L-proline, L-lysine, L-arginine, hyaluronic acid, glycine, taurine, saw palmetto, nicotinic acid. We got to talk about that one. Omega-3 krill oil, glucosamine, magnesium glycinate, K2D3, K2MK7, turmeric, ashwagandha, CoQ10, lutein, zinc copper combo, and a multivitamin. So a pretty basic one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 20 supplements, not including the powder, the protein powder, and what's the other one? The vital proteins, collagen powder, and protein powder. So with those, it's 22.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, let's explore that a bit more. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, melatonin before bed. So that's 12 grams of melatonin. I'm trying to take that more because I really find that sleep is definitely helping my numbers work to the better. Yeah,
For sure. So let's dive more into the nicotinic acid and what other quote unquote longevity supplements you take. So you want to talk more about
that's my full list. But the nicotinic acid, the reason I started taking that is to raise NAD level.
Mm-hmm.
I was following Mike Lascardin. He talks about that, and he's constantly testing, and I get a lot of good information from him. So I used to take NMN until the FDA thing came into the US, and then I stopped taking it. And then there's quality issues with that. You always wonder the quality. I mean, there's lists of the good quality ones, but a lot of them are sending out garbage. And I'm just wondering, it's expensive, and is this stuff actually even doing anything? So I've been working on things that can raise my NAD level naturally, caloric restriction and exercise. So then listening to Mike, he started talking about this NAD, raising NAD from nicotinic acid. And he was taking more. Now he found that 100 milligrams was about right for him. So I said, well, okay, I'm going to give it a try, give it a shot. And I've had this thing called Raynaud syndrome for a long time. You know what that is?
Yeah.
Restricted blood
flow. Yeah.
Yeah. So my fingers would turn completely white when it gets cold out. I would have a lot of pain from the coldness, numb or no feeling at all, depending on how cold it was. So with the nicotinic acid, I noticed that this problem went away. And this is something that I wasn't getting any information from the doctors about. I asked my doctor about Raynaud's, and he said, well, that's just a overreaction to the cold. That we have medications for that. Of course you do. You have medications for everything. I was like, I don't want to be taking anything that I don't have to. And I was looking online. I couldn't find anything about it. So they were saying, you can take ginger, work out, eat healthy, all the stuff I'm doing already anyway. They were no help. Wear gloves, move to a warmer climate. It's like, yeah, right. These guys are jokers. So I'm going for a walk with the wife or the dog. I got my gloves at home. It was a pretty cold day. And I had taken nicotinic acid in the morning, 100 milligrams. And this was 3 days after I started taking it. And I was looking at my hands, we're walking, and I was just noticing that I wasn't getting any coldness or the white feeling in my hand, the effect of Raynaud's. And I'm saying, this is interesting. I'm not getting any issues from this. So maybe there's something with its nicotinic acid. So I kept looking at my hand. We're walking and I wasn't noticing anything. I started getting excited that this might be a cure for me. So I wasn't telling her what I was doing. I just kept looking at my hand. So I get home, she had a meeting. I get a big bowl, fill it with water, throw a bunch of ice in it, stuck my hand in it for 10, 15 minutes. No reaction to the cold. I go, aha, we got something here. So over the course of the next couple of weeks or whatever, I would go out without clothes on purpose. And then I finally told her about it. And the reason I didn't want to tell her about it is because also, if you know what nicotinic acid is, it's pure niacin. It's flush niacin. You turn red when you take it for the first time. Till your body adapts, and you're supposed to take it on a full stomach. And I would take it even on a fast. It wouldn't matter. I wanted to take it just to see what it would do, and it turns you all red, and you feel kind of a rush from it. And some people actually like the flush effect. So it's a vasodilator, and that's the benefit for me. I've always had poor circulation. I always get cold hands and feet. It's just always cold all the time, even when it wasn't that cold. And it has been a really good thing for me. So if anyone wants to take that, just look it up. 100 milligrams should be okay. But just find out more information about it so you're knowledgeable. So it does raise NAD levels. People take a lot of niacin, pure niacin, and nicotinic acid up to, I heard 1,500, 2,000 to lower their cholesterol, but that can cause damage. So I don't recommend that. Maybe they do it for a short amount of time, but it was a really good find for me. So I'll still get flushing here and there, but I take it early in the morning. It's my first vitamin batch that I take, supplement batch. And before I go about the day, I just get maybe turn red. And she's used to it now. She's, oh, you're red again. But I'm taking it on an empty stomach. I've taken it on full stomach, and it doesn't really cause that. It's a good effect. So it helps with hair growth too, I found it out. So it helps open up the blood vessels for hair. So that's another reason to take it. So it's definitely something people should look into.
Yeah, you know what? I'm typically in the camp of avoiding supplements as much as possible and trying to get things through natural means, through food, kind of like Mike Lustgarten. But I'm going to explore more. Obviously, I've been reading a lot about NMN and NR over the years. So increasing NAD levels, I think, is essential as we age. So I'll look into niacin a bit more. But that's a remarkable story that it produced that kind of result for you.
Yeah, just got to make sure it's a flush niacin and a cause flush. You don't want to get the no flush version because it's not even real niacin. So you want pure niacin. It'll just say niacin on the label, and on the back it'll say nicotinic acid. That's the one you want. Because I was taking 500 milligrams of the no flush niacin. It didn't do anything for me, and I just heard it's just better off not even taking it. That type. Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's get into your mindset and then finish off with testing. So in terms of mindset, stress relief, what do you do? How do you approach that?
So I've always tended to have a positive attitude, and I never really knew why. It's just I would notice people getting upset about the most trivial things, and I never really connected with it. I said, why are these people getting upset about nothing? It doesn't really affect your life. It doesn't even matter. And so I would notice that even when bad things happen, I don't know if it was a protective mechanism built into my system, but it's just something I always had a positive attitude. Even in the worst of times, I would always look for what can I learn from this? What is this teaching me? What is good in this thing that's happening? And I think I elevated it even more when I started getting into inversion. So inversion definitely helps with the mood. It pushes a lot of fresh blood and oxygen into your brain, and we are under the force of gravity constantly, and our head is always elevated. Even when we're laying down, we have our head on a pillow, so it's always up at the highest position. So I find that this makes a big difference in overall health, but also in mindset. When I get off the inversion table, I just feel so good. I have to do it every day. Even on rest days, I do it every day. And it's just really mood elevating. And I think people that really get into it, they know. It's just this is a really good thing. And it's supposed to help with anxiety and depression. Even though I've never had anxiety and depression, it can help people with those conditions. So this is something that very good. And I also learned more about mindset. I've taken 2 classes in the philosophy of Buddhism. My wife teaches classes in that. She's in this. She's Korean, and she's in a Buddhism society that's basically teaching people the philosophy of Buddhism as of not making oneself suffer. We make a lot of things we do mentally, we make ourselves suffer.
Mm.
So I found that I've had a lot of this naturally just through my life. And she took the class and she was tending to get kind of moody, I would consider. And I noticed she was getting much better, not as moody. I wouldn't piss her off as easily. So she said, well, I want you to take this class. So I said, all right, I want to find out what they did to you. I'll take the class. So I took 2 classes and I found it very interesting. I learned all about Buddha, and not as a religion, just basically the philosophy of the mental philosophy of Buddhism, not suffering.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you find like that's the core to your, I guess, stress relief, your positive outlook, maybe even
I
purpose in life too. It helps with.
Yeah, you have to have purpose in life. I've always liked helping people. Uh, it's just you have to have something that drives you. I mean, even when things aren't going my way, I always got another iron in the fire with something else. If this doesn't work out, I got something else going on. Just kind of diversify in my mindset and everything, and not overthinking everything. I don't even overthink this longevity. I'm just trying to do it simply. Live like if I overthink it, I'm just going to be stressing myself out, and it's not going to be fun, and it's going to be harder to get enjoyment out of it. I'm getting a lot of enjoyment just out of just exploring and just doing the basic things.
And
I'll
learning
if
too,
you
right?
reach. Excuse me.
And learning, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm reaching for higher fruit now, but it's just because the lower fruit is so ingrained in me now. It's just all a habit. So
Mm.
I don't even think about it half the time. I'm just on autopilot. But mindset is a big thing with longevity, from what I know. You have to be in a good mindset. You don't want to be stressing yourself out.
Hmm.
And sense of community. So have friends and that you
Yes.
connect to. The worst thing you can do with mindset is be alone and not connect to anybody.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think the only one that we didn't touch on is youthful energy. So perceiving yourself as being young, right? Not thinking, oh, I got knee pain, I've got neck pain, I'm getting old. You have to find a way to spin it, find the silver lining, and think that you're still young.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. I don't like to think of myself as old. I don't connect to old thinking. I hang out with my old friends and I hang out with my young friends, and I look at them all the same, and I just what can I learn from the young folks? What can I learn from the old folks? And yeah, I don't know. I can't connect with the old way of thinking. Like it's almost like as far as like giving up. Like I'm old. I just can't do this anymore. I'll push myself as far as I can. I'm like I said, I'm sprinting now. I mean, I could never imagine myself doing that at 60. I never even imagined sprinting. Period. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's get into testing because I think that's something that more and more people are realizing is essential. The annual checkup that you get at your doctor is not enough to get us living healthy for a long time. So, what kind of tests do you do? And then we'll get into which ones you think made the biggest impacts and that you track the most. So, what testing do you do for longevity and for health?
Zero. Didn't test anything. I didn't even go to the doctor for physical. I had no idea. I thought I was invincible. Then I hit 55, and then I found out I wasn't invincible. So about 2022, I finally agreed to go to the doctor, and we ran the basic tests that they run. They're really, really basic. He said, you look all right, this little of this, little of that, whatever. And then I was working on the longevity stuff. That's about the time I started really scaling in. And my cholesterol numbers ended up showing higher. But I didn't really think too much about it. I said, I got to learn more about this. So I can get into my cholesterol numbers right now. I got them in front of me. So prior, when my higher cholesterol levels were 260, triglycerides 179, HDL 81, which is not too bad, LDL 142, and now on cholesterol I'm at 207, triglycerides 86, HDL 88, and LDL 102. So I was able to bring it down, but my doctor had recommended that I go on a statin. So I said, I'm not going to do that. I want to do this naturally. I can figure it out. So he said, well, you can go on a Mediterranean diet. I said, I'm already on a clean Mediterranean-ish diet. What I'll do is I'll cut out some eggs, and I'll cut out the butter. I'll cut out the whole milk, and I'll pay attention to some other things that could bring it down. But I mean, really, I didn't think it was that high. And I talked to some friends, and they were eating like a lot of eggs and sausage and all kinds of things like that, and their cholesterol wasn't anywhere near where mine is. So it's just they're so quick to want to put you on drugs. I said, no, I'm not going to do this. I I said, I go into this is when I go in for my physical. I'm not even fasted. I just go in, not even thinking about it. I said, don't you think coming in fasted would make a difference? Not really, not very that much, whatever. So then I wanted to retest recently on my cholesterol number to see how much better they had gotten because I was really working on it. I said, I'm going to go in fasted for this. I was on my 24-hour fast. I went in, got my blood drawn at 8:45, and I was having hormone issues. I thought because I saw my TruDiagnostic test came in with my symphony age was showing my hormones were out of whack. So I got to test that too. So I said, all right, we'll test that. And I want to test my LPA and my ApoB. They never even recommended that. They just said, hey, go right on a statin. So let's test this other stuff. So I'm telling them what I want to do. And I was being proactive. So sure enough, that's when my cholesterol numbers went way down. So my ApoB is 93, and my LPA is 10. So those are good numbers. So, but who knows? I could have been prone to have a bad LPA number, prone to
Right.
high cholesterol. But when we ran the testosterone test, I'm at 1215. So that's pretty
Sure.
high.
That is very high. So essentially for your cholesterol to lower it down, what you did is you cut out dairy, lowered the amount of eggs and saturated fat that you're consuming, and that worked, right? So diet change did the trick, right? Now you're in
I
that
don't
kind of
even
optimal zone.
I don't even think it was that much. I mean, I just cut instead of 3 eggs per day, I went to 2 eggs per day. And this is boiled eggs. This is nothing. But I guess eggs have a lot of cholesterol in them. And butter. I was using a fair amount of butter, but just on vegetable, not that much. And the whole milk, which I put some in the smoothie, but I have so much fruit in there that there's not really much room for milk. So I change that out for filtered water now. I'm sure the fasted blood test had to make some impact on it. I don't know how much, but I don't know how they could not recommend me not taking this blood test fasted. So now I'm just going to do that on my own all the time.
So how often are you going
Um,
to test? How often are you going to test your blood lipids, or how often are you testing?
um, well, I had them tested in December, and I just had them tested last month. So, but I'm going to test more. I'll test more, but right now I'm going back into I scheduled a blood test for the beginning of June. Um, and I'm going to be because of my high testosterone level, and that's another thing. High testosterone can raise cholesterol. So I'm looking into the cause. I'm not just throwing a statin at it. Um, so the testosterone levels as an average have been going lower for people over the years. So I talked to my doctor's office yesterday, and they said my testosterone is mildly elevated. They don't think it's really that high. It's the top is 1100 in range, and I'm at 1215. So maybe you caught me on a good day where I had super good testosterone. So I'm going to test that again beginning of June, and I'm going to have some other hormones checked. Triggers for a adrenal tumor or something like that that could elevate the testosterone. And I also asked them to test my free testosterone.
Mm.
Because that's the stuff that actually affects you in the body, not the stuff that's locked up. So my advice to anyone is be proactive with your doctor. I mean, they're just hitting the real basics, and then they're just like when I'm in with my doctor, he says, "Oh, sorry, I got to cut this short. I got another patient I got to deal with." They're just like shoving us through like cattle. I don't know how your doctor's office is, but that's how mine is. But they're good with me if I keep after them. I do online chats with them, and I'm able to get what I want if I just keep after them. So I did get a recent chest. So he recommended a CAC test for me, which is checks for the calcium buildup in your arteries in your heart. And I came out at a 69, which is, I guess, average for my age, but I don't want any in my artery.
Mm-hmm.
That's the good plaque buildup. You don't want the soft plaque.
Yeah.
And I think it's for my prior non-health days where I was just eating processed food and deep fried this and garbage that and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I have a little bit of buildup. That's not too bad. And then I had another chest scan last week, and they said I'm all clear. It's all clear in my the blood flow. I have my arteries are open, so there's plenty in there. He requested also I get a stress test. A
Mm-hmm.
stress You only fail a stress test if you have 50% blockage. And I said, do I really need this? He said, well, we can monitor your heart while you're under stress to see if there's anything that is hidden. So it's all right. So I'm all for as much easy testing as I can get. I mean, as long as it's non-invasive. I mean, but if I have to go the invasive route, I will. So when I did this other chest scan, they stuck some dye in me, and they're looking at my lungs. So on the CAC test, they did see some small cysts in my lungs, and cysts are common in people. They have them all through their body, and these are small, but they saw one that was a little bit bigger. So they said, let's look a little bit more into it. So I did that, and that's where they saw my heart is all clear and all that. And we are going to be doing some more testing on that. I got to talk to a pulmonary doctor. But I don't know if I got any issues from my lungs from COVID, because I was coughing for like 2 months straight. I got it when it first came to the country. I went to a casino for a trade show, and it was just when the buzz started on COVID coming into the country. And I said, I'm not going to shake anybody's hand or anything like that. And then I saw I have a clothing brand, and some young guys were talking to me, and I was giving them all kinds of information because I've been in a long time, and they wanted to shake my hand. And after I shook their hand, I shouldn't have done that. Then at the trade show, they had an open buffet and like band and drinks and all that. And it's like total exposure. It's like a petri dish for COVID, and I was exposed there. Surely enough, a couple of weeks later, I was sick as a dog from COVID, but I never got vaccinated. But I know I must have did something to my lungs with that amount of coughing I was doing. It was like deep, heavy. It was like the worst cough I ever had in my life.
Yeah, no, that first variant was nasty of COVID for sure. So, okay, in terms of longevity, your blood tests, have you tested enough blood biomarkers to determine your pheno age?
Actually, that's something I'm going to test. So I've never tested pheno. That is going to be done the same day I do this other blood test I just mentioned, and I'm going to do another TruDiagnostic blood test and another one, a Generation Lab test. So I'm doing 4 separate blood tests that day. I'm going crazy on my blood that day. So I'll be super clean on my blood. I'll make sure I'm a good boy before that. And so epigenetic testing, but I'm going to do my first pheno age testing. And because Adam Fiskor has been kind of pushing me to enter the Longevity World Cup. Pheno age is needed for that. So, and that's a cheap test. So you can get a cheap blood test. You don't have to buy any of these expensive tests, and you could just do your own, and you can actually find out your score anywhere online. It's like 9 biomarkers for that test. So that'll be coming up. So on the symphony age, the lowest one I got is like 12-year difference lower. But my telomeres, I went high and low. I've got as high as 80 years old on my telomeres, which is crazy. It's like, so 55 years old on the one reading, and then 80 years old on another. And because I wasn't sleeping good at that time, and that made a big difference. And there's a lot of noise in those tests, so I'm hoping that these tests come along soon and they get better. I mean, as far as the biological age tests they have now, I'm not really trusting them. They're just so all over the map. I'm a little bit more trusting of the pace of aging, but if you don't do that right, also there can be some noise there. You don't want to go in non-fasted. You don't want to be eating breakfast and then taking the test. You want to just be clean before that. So there's little differences that can be made in making the numbers change a lot.
Yeah, there's some questions about reproducibility, but let's talk more about your epigenetic age. So give me the timeline of when you first started testing with TruDiagnostics and and how your scores have changed. So right now, like we said at the beginning of the call or of our talk, is that you're at 13th place, right, with a score of 0.713. And then I think your lowest so far has been 0.66. So can you give us a
Yes.
timeline of when you started testing and how your scores have changed?
So last fall, beginning of fall, like July, August, I think it was August, I tested at 0.72 was my first test. And I tested again 3 months later, it was at 0.76. And I attribute that to just not getting enough sleep because I wasn't really changing much. And I noticed after the first of the year, that's when I started getting a lot better sleep because of the cycle of the light sun going down at like 4:30, 5 o'clock. I just naturally would wind down sooner. And because I got a higher score, I really concentrated on my sleep. And that's how I was able to lower it significantly from that point. And I really didn't change much of anything else that I know of. Maybe something changed, but I really, really worked on sleep a lot. So this is something I am really working on now. I'm not screwing around with sleep. If it's preventable, I will just go to bed at a decent hour and do all the things I can. I tend to eat a lot. I eat a big dinner and I eat late, but it's not because I want to, it's because just the way my life is happening. So just the way it is, yeah.
Okay. So it went up to 0.76. And when did you get your score of 0.66?
That was the last test, and that was in March, I believe, March or April. April. I think I tested in March, but I got my results in April.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't too long ago. So I'm at, so as far as the rejuvenation and Olympics, some people are banging out the 0.5s. A lot of people hitting 0.5. I suspect that they're a lot younger. It's a lot harder to hit these numbers when you get up to my age. So I think a lot of those people could not be doing anything when you're really young and be hitting some really good numbers. It just, the damage hasn't set in yet. So I think for myself, for being complacent about my health all those years and making a comeback, feeling good about that number.
Yeah,
I don't know how much it means in the actual true world, but I notice when I improve my longevity skills, my score improves. So
there's a
we
correlation
shall
there.
see.
And
Yeah,
then talk a
I'm
little bit
gonna.
more about your symphony age. You said a little bit about that.
Yeah, my symphony age. My lowest I got on that was 12 years younger, so it came out good on that, except for my immunity and my hormones. So I saw that flag on there, and then I talked to my doctor, and I said, "Well, if my epigenetic test is showing my hormones are out of whack." He said, "Oh, be careful with that stuff." He said, it's just giving me the song and dance. And so, well, let's look into this anyway, because testosterone can raise my cholesterol. So I think he's believing me more now. He says he's a new age doctor, but he's a younger guy too, so he's open more to it. But still, their heads are in the medical journals and sponsored by big pharma. So that's kind of the battle.
Yeah, could be some of them definitely. Okay, so any other testing that you felt that is worth talking about that you've done in terms of longevity?
Uh, no, that's about it. That's it for my testing now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get into the rapid fire questions, the lightning round. I have a few questions,
Okay.
and then I guess we'll wrap it up. So first of all, let's continue on testing. Which of the tests, I guess, you track most? You said is TruSight Diagnostics, right? That's your North Star, essentially.
Uh, that's the first one I started testing as far as the biohacker test. And I just did it for entertainment purposes, but I think it's kind of cool being in the competition because it makes me work harder. And
Right.
the thing is, if we're just taking these tests and not having something kind of to shoot for, it makes it I don't know, kind of get lost. So I like to actually have something push me. So if I want to get better and it's in the public forum, that makes it more appealing to me. And I can see what other people are doing. So if I'm just on my own, then I don't know. But
Right.
hey, if this person, this age, and they can do it, let's see if I can do it too. Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. So out of all the things we talked about, diet, exercise, supplements, sleep, or maybe things that we didn't talk about, which do you think are the top one or two that made the biggest impact at slowing your aging?
Well, just learning about my body in general. I listen to a lot of YouTube, longevity, biohackers, Michaelis Gardens. There's so many people out there. Just trying to listen to everybody, even just people like on your show. I watched Marius yesterday. What was it today? It came out. I forget. Yeah, yesterday.
Yep.
That was a good show.
Yep.
Just yeah, just all that. So the biggest impact of actual things I've done is clean diet. Fasting has made a huge difference for me on energy level, cutting out that extra meal, that lunch. So what I've done is I've cut down, I did the calculation, cutting out all my lunches for a year and the 76 days of fasting, I cut out 517 meals per year. Sounds like a lot.
Hmm.
And that pays for all my supplements. That pays for my blood tests.
Right.
And I have money left over for some coffee.
That's a great way to
Uh,
look at it. That's a great way to
yeah.
look at fasting. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are just putting too much into the supplements as far as just taking so many. And I think a lot of people may just, oh, they heard this influencer or we have this proprietary blend that will slow your aging or make your biological age better. I mean, you gotta just put your ear blinders on to the noise. It's just a lot of BS in my opinion. So I think if you just work on the basics, you're going to just get almost all the way there. You can tweak it with some supplements and just be knowledgeable of what you're doing. Just don't blindly take things. And so I'm really working on the exercise. That's another thing that's really taking it, not overdoing it, getting plenty of rest in because I was just overdoing it. I was working out every day, just didn't matter. Arm day, like every day, just doing my full workout every day. So now I cut it down to 4 days a week. And sometimes if I'm really busy, if I'm really active and I got things to do, it'll maybe just a couple days a week. And but I'll get back into it and then maybe double up and do 5 and 6 the next week, but it'll average out. Yeah.
That's great. And then who are the top two or three people in the longevity space that you follow that you like to learn from?
Um, I like to listen to everybody, like I said, because I think I can learn something from anyone. It doesn't matter if someone I don't even really agree with. It could be from one of these influencers that are even pushing products. You get in you start listening to them, and halfway through they're pushing products, or at the end, and they always get something to sell. I can even learn from them, and I can just learn from the regular person working on their health. Then maybe I may be able to get something out of every one of them. I really do like Michael Lascardin's show because he's doing it very scientifically and trying to work with things in his diet.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
And he's
probably one of
he's
my.
local to you, right? I think you guys live close together.
Yeah. I guess he's moving to Texas, and I don't blame him. I wouldn't mind moving down there. I hate the cold weather up here, but she loves it. She loves the season change, so I guess I'm stuck with it for a while. Maybe it'll be a snowbird someday. But from what I hear, he lives next to a fire station and police department, so he's got to get the hell out of Dodge. So
He does, yeah.
yeah.
No, that's fantastic. Thanks so much, Keith, for your time. Where can people find you to find out more about how you're doing in terms of your longevity and then what you're doing?
I share everything on my YouTube, everything I'm doing with my health. So I'll say what's happening with me and what my recommendation is for someone else going through the same thing.